Let's get started by taking a quick look at what a single page application or SPA actually is. Now, most of us are used to hitting a standard web page where you click on a button and the whole page reloads. With a single page application, we can load different views, or you can think of them as kind of mini parts of a screen, into what I like to call a shell page. Now, what I mean by shell page is this main page here that has the div is a container that we can actually use to load in a view. So in this example, we'd have the home page view that would be loaded initially. Now we can also load different views into this shell page. So whereas with a standard app requires the entire page to be reloaded, using a single page application technology like AngularJS or even some others, we can replace the view that's in that shell with a different view. Now this provides more of what I like to call a desktop style experience for the end user. It feels very fast, it's very fluid, and it responds very quickly to the user input. And usually when people are building SPAs and ask, why should I use Angular or some of these other frameworks, I say, do you want to build a more desktop-like experience? So if you're building, for instance, a line of business application, or something else where you just want to load parts of the page, these different views, then SPAs may be for you. Now, one of the nice things about SPAs is they maintain a history. So if the user clicks on the back button, we can make it so that the current view goes away and they go back to the previous view. So in this case, the orders would leave and the customers would slide in. And that provides a really nice way to track what the user's been doing without them having to worry about it. Now, normally, if you hit the back button, you're going to go back to the previous website they were at. So if they were at maybe a news site, you're going to leave the entire site they're on and go back. But with a single page application, it'll actually handle navigating between these different views. Now, to build a single page application, you need a lot of different technologies and oftentimes a lot of different scripts, because you're going to have to do things like manipulate the DOM. That's something we could use jQuery for. Manage history. I just showed that in the previous example. And that would be something like history.js potentially. Handle routing. You'll see what routing is a little bit later. This is how we navigate between these different views. And there's other libraries like Sammy.js that could be used for that. Make AJAX calls so that we can get JSON data. Typically we'd use jQuery or one of those libraries. Bind the data that we get into our text boxes and drop downs and things like that. Well, you could use Knockout.js, which is an excellent data binding library. And there's even more we might have to do. So it kind of feels like you're climbing up this big cliff to build a single page application if you do it all from scratch. Well, AngularJS provides a full-featured SPA framework. It provides one core script and a couple auxiliary scripts that you can use together to build a full-featured SPA that loads in different views, allows for back button support, has DOM manipulation, data binding, AJAX, and much, much more. Now, anytime I work with a framework, I always want to know before I jump into it very heavily, what exactly does it promise? What does it offer us? Well, AngularJS, being a full-featured SPA framework, offers a lot of cool things. And I'm going to show you a few of these here, and don't feel like you have to understand all these up front. We're going to be going through many of these throughout the course. But things like data binding I mentioned, a model view controller type of methodology or pattern, supports routing and testing and history. You can use even a jQuery type of version called JQLite that's built into Angular for some of the DOM manipulation. Now it has even more. We can do things like view models, which you'll see is called scope, dependency injection, directives, controllers. We can even do form validation, and everything you see on here is built into the framework. So as I mentioned, it's not something that I want to overwhelm you with up front and say, wow, look at all this stuff you have to learn. That's actually not how it is. We're going to be discussing many of these topics throughout this course. What I do want you to know up front, though, is it's a very powerful and robust framework. And you know up front that it offers all these features and even some others. And as mentioned, we'll be covering many of these throughout the course.